went too far. But maybe just far enough. Well done. Thank you for being slightly riled up. So you're ready now to hear from Liz Walsh. Liz? Hello, Leo. I'll tell you a bit about Liz, just quickly. Liz has been an organised socialist for more than 2 decades, beginning with school walkouts. And you'll see a theme here with school walkouts. Because I led one too, and so did Jerem, and so did Liz Walsh. So, I mean, if you're still somebody who's at school, get a walkout in quick. So that you can say 20 years later, that's how you started. Liz's walkout was about Pauline Hanson. Her name should rile you up. And she's been a consistent opponent of all forms of racism, involved, as you know, in the campaigns for refugee rights, worked alongside refugees and migrant communities, demanding decent working conditions, permanent visa protection, an end to racist policing, and of course, Liz's recent triumph, I would say, is that she called a protest about the ban on abortion in the US, and thousands and thousands of people came, and I'm sure many of you came. And so this was a fantastic initiative, and congratulations for Liz for that. And Liz is, of course, our candidate for Western Metropolitan. Please make her welcome.
Thanks, Roz. So, a little bit more serious. Maybe the last will come later, probably not. So, workers are getting hammered right now across Australia as the cost of food, of housing, of electricity and gas skyrockets. If you go to a food bank drive-through in any Melbourne suburb, you're going to see long lines of cars, and around half of the people in those cars will have jobs. But they can't afford to put food on the table. They can't afford their bills, so they're lining up at charities. And what's driving this inflation is not some wages breakout, some wage price spiral. It's soaring profits and the greed of big business, of companies like supermarket chains, infrastructure companies, oil and gas, who are making record profits by inflicting pain on the rest of us. And what do the thieves in their suits have to say about this? You know, the people who are at the head of institutions whose role it is to try and keep this exploitative, unjust system ticking. People like the heads of the Reserve Bank or the new Federal Labor Treasurer, Jim Chalmers. Their common message to workers is that they should expect years more of this pain, that they should sit tight, wait, maybe work a little harder to push up productivity, and they should dare not fight for wage rises that match inflation. Shame on them. And what about the Labor government in Victoria, Red Dan, who on election night in 2014, after his first election victory, accredited the unions for his success? What does he have to say? Well, his government is one of the worst employers going, with their 1.5% wages cap for the public sector. So condemning this wage cap and urging workers to organise collectively to smash it, standing alongside workers on any picket line that might exist across the north and the west, anyone willing to have a go, that's going to be central to the Victorian Socialist state election campaign, because we know which side of the class war we stand on. And we know that it's by collectively fighting back in our workplaces and on the streets that we can have any hope of defending our living conditions. So a feature of this growing crisis, of course, is enormous housing stress. So the Western Homelessness Network coordinator, someone that Jorge and I met up with recently, she talked about the huge stress that renters are under. So something like 51% of renters in the western suburbs are under housing stress. 42% of people with mortgages are experiencing financial stress. And the public housing wait list has ballooned by 55% in the last 5 years. So already, before then, people were waiting over a decade just to get an offer for public housing, and it's gotten much worse. And it's not that housing hasn't been built. So in Footscray, on census night, something like 1 in 5 homes in Footscray were empty. So houses have been being built. In Footscray, apartment blocks are being thrown up left, right and centre. The problem is that much of this housing in Footscray and across the rest of the state is not being built to meet the community's needs. It's not being built as a home. Instead, it's a commodity to be traded, to be speculated on, and for profit. It's there to line the pockets of big developers and property investors. So the state election is a chance for us to highlight what a real housing affordability policy looks like. And the solutions are pretty simple if you think housing should be a human right. And it doesn't begin with selling off public housing land to private developers like the Andrews government has. Instead, it means building masses of public housing, not just so that we can house the most disadvantaged, but so that public housing could become an option for working class people. It means outlawing land banking, confiscating houses that remain empty for a long period of time and handing them over to public housing. It means doing things, not like allowing renters to hang picture frames or have pets and saying, there you go, there's your renters' rights. Instead, it means things like imposing rent controls, and it means legislating to have genuine security of tenure for renters. So while we don't get affordable housing in Victoria, what we do get is more prisons. Like the $700 million prison that's just been built outside of Larrin, Melbourne's west, that's got 1,200 beds. Shame. And they're building these prisons because the prison population has absolutely exploded over the last 10 years by 60%. So most of that's under Dan Andrews' government. And women, particularly Aboriginal women, are the fastest growing prison cohort. And nearly half of all women in prisons are on remand. So they haven't even been found guilty of some offence. They're waiting for their trial. That can be a wait of months, if not years. And even if they're found guilty of a crime, even if they're convicted, they probably won't be serving a jail sentence for their crime. That's how absurd it is. And just in case you weren't clear of the Andrews government's law and order credentials, he's abandoned his 2014 promise to increase the minimum age of criminal responsibility. So children as young as 10, disproportionately Aboriginal children, can still be locked up in this state. So we have more prisons, we also have more cops. Thousands more cops with the Andrews government. Cops armed to the teeth, costing the taxpayers billions of dollars. So they've spent more on increasing the police force than they have in the total that they've spent on their big housing build. And we should remember that while it's the federal government that implements its racist immigration policies, it was the Victoria Police that helped to enforce those racist policies by imprisoning those people in the Park Hotel and in Mantra, our friends in the Park Hotel in Mantra. It's the Victoria Police that aids Border Force in any deportation to danger that happens. So Victorian Socialists, we're for ending this cooperation. There should be no more cooperation with Border Force, and we're for defunding the racist Victorian Police. Instead, what we're for is making Victoria a sanctuary state for asylum seekers and refugees. Refugees should be safe in Victoria. They should not be locked up. They should not be in prison. They should not be deported. We're here to fight for a state that actually welcomes refugees. Now, for those of us that make it our business to step out of line, to challenge the status quo, and I hope that's most of you here today, Andrews has special new draconian anti-protest laws for you. So I wanted to finish just saying a few more words about environmental destruction and the climate crisis, because it's climate activists, environmental activists that the Andrews government has in his crosshairs. So this government is destroying crucial wildlife habitat, logging down our native forests. They're also chopping down our crucial carbon sinks, sinks that are crucial for being able to draw down carbon in our atmosphere. And he's also expanding the fossil fuel industry in Victoria by overturning the moratorium on gas mining. And at a federal level, we have a new Labor government being celebrated for ending the climate wars. But their climate bill is not worth the paper it's written on. It sets criminally weak emissions targets, and there's no enforcement mechanism to make sure that they even achieve these weak targets beyond merely a report to Parliament. Seriously, folks, that is it. Meanwhile, they're giving a green light to new coal and gas projects. then what we need is not just no new coal and gas. What we need is to be shutting down existing coal and gas projects and rapidly moving to renewables if we have any hope of repairing our climate. So it's no wonder that the business elite are celebrating this new climate bill. So the bill, as Roz said, is not a step in the right direction. And it's disappointing that the Greens, despite their criticisms and despite the fact that they didn't win any concessions, any serious concessions, still voted for this planet-wrecking climate bill. And they did this to fend off right-wing criticism of being obstructionist. But obstructing Labor's pro-fossil fuel agenda, not providing them with political cover, but obstructing it, that's what we need of our political representatives right now. So we have wildfires, we have mass flooding, we have extinction events that are escalating and becoming more and more intense. And so what we need right now is not parliamentary games. What we need is not compromise in the name of pragmatism. What we need to do is elect people that will stand up to this right-wing pressure. People who not only want to stand up to the billionaires, the fossil fuel companies, and their big developers, and their mates in Parliament. We need people who don't want to manage this rotten system, don't want to be responsible managers. Instead, we need people that want to tear down this rotten, pro-capitalist, business-as-usual politics that's destroying people's lives and our planet. This state election is a chance to make an advance for the socialist movement, to win an enormous platform for our message that's only by building uncompromising movements from below, movements on the streets, movements in our workplaces, that we can win a world where people and our planet come first. So let's do whatever we can to seize this opportunity.